What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here. Just saw that the second edition Cairn Player's Guide playtest is now available on New School Revolution. Yohai tweeted this. There's also a Reddit post on the Cairn subreddit. And yeah, so I went and checked it out. I just gave it a quick look through, and this looks awesome. So first things first, the immediate eye catcher. I love the art. You know, I do love the black and white art style from, you know, the first one, but it's nice to see some color in the world and stuff like that. That's really cool. So I love the art style. You know, slightly different font, same font, but a little bit design. I like the eye with the torch. I think that's really cool. So you can sign up for the newsletter. There's also the playtest, which you can just open in a Google Drive, which is cool. So from what I've gathered, just kind of looking over this, second edition Cairn, like, it's not going to necessarily change the rule set for the original Cairn. In fact, it says that it's compatible with, the core rules are 100% compatible with Cairn First Edition. So, of course, there are some significant changes in store, but we're going to talk about it. So the fact that it's compatible, it's pretty awesome. From what I've gathered, it seems like they're just adding some more clarifications and some more ideas and content in there, and the rules are largely unchanged, but there's a few tweaks to it, and it seems like they're tweaks for the better. So a big thing about this is there's going to be lots of clarifications and decisions. It says, over the years I've heard a lot of the same questions over and over again, despite the existence of the Cairn FAQ, which I'm guilty of ignoring as well. Obviously, clarity is the enemy of minimalism here. Fortunately, I've had a lot of time to think things over, rephrase some things, and finally hire an editor. The rules are fine-tuned and less vague, while hopefully still allowing all the kinds of flexibility that Cairn is known for. That excites me. I know, like, some of the common things that I get tripped up on all the time are like scars. So, for example, the scars, but that definitely needed some clarification. And then also, I'm still not quite certain on how to handle detachments and stuff like that. So cool. Now, a big one is backgrounds. So it says here, this is a big one. Character generation hasn't been changed exactly, but expanded. Instead of simply rolling on a table of generic backgrounds, I've written 20 bespoke backgrounds, each with unique tables, Electric Bastion Land style. The tables help determine both character starting gear and implicit or explicit abilities unique to each. These take up the bulk of the book, around 60 pages. That's awesome. So again, like, the core rules of Cairn really only take up like 4 or 5 pages at the most. And then the other like 18 pages or whatever that were in the original Cairn booklet were just background tables and stuff like that. So the fact that they're expanding backgrounds to making them even more fun really excites me. And I just took a quick look through it, like just a cursory glance. I haven't even delved into it yet myself, but just what I saw made me excited. So that's good. Bonds and omens. This is something that is new. So characters now roll on a global bonds table. Each entry is fine-tuned to deliver a modicum of backstory and connection with the game world. This is a bit like Debt in other games, but mixed with a bit of bonds and flags from Dungeon World, though a bit less prescriptive. I don't know what those references are, but I'll dive into it at some point, I'm sure. Omens, on the other hand, are usually only rolled once by a single party member. They point to a darkness or aberration on the horizon. This is honestly more for the warden than anyone else. That sounds ominous, but cool. Procedures. This is something that I'm kind of excited about. So procedures, there are some things in Cairn where it's like, because it's so open-ended, that I'm not quite sure how best to go about it. So for example, things like travel or making downtime interesting. Those are some things that I struggled with as a warden for my players. And the fact that they're going to add some procedures to help you with that is nice. Procedures are rules that provide an order of operation, a framework for rules that can help keep the game consistent, dynamic, and flexible. Or something. Anyway, the current playtest has rules for wilderness exploration and dungeon exploration. They are a bit different than the way other games do things, but should still feel similar, or familiar, sorry. Most importantly, these rules, procedures, are modular and can be easily dropped if they don't fit your table. Cool. And now the cool thing is the I've been looking forward to is implied setting, because I've been just making up my own world and settings. It seems like Cairn is really meant for like a dark forest fantasy kind of thing. So I'd be interested to see what their implied setting is. So it says here, I've been working on a setting for Cairn. There's only a single page at the moment, at least in the player's guide, but it should provide a decent framework for setting up a game. It splits the world in two, the woods and the roots. Adventures happen in the woods, and dungeons, usually, are accessed in the roots. Gates are spread throughout the world and act as portals to the roots and make travel fast. Sounds cool. Fast travel. Dope. The future. So the player's guide is ready to play now. However, there's still a lot that I plan to add. There's going to be a more in-depth rules, frequently asked questions, more bonds, more omens, spellbook personalities. This is actually almost finished, but I kept it out of the playtest for reasons. Interesting. I'm not sure what spellbook personalities are, but that could be fun. Procedures for downtime, including foreground growth. Ooh, that sounds like it's going to be helpful. Expanded setting, including an adventure. Cool. Built-in adventure to help get you started. That's going to be huge. Adding a ton of art, obviously the backgrounds, but also elsewhere. And if that wasn't enough, we haven't even talked about the Warden's Guide, a companion to the Player's Guide. This book will be packed with tools to help run a successful game, including a setting guide, faction rules, how to design a forest crawl, a guide to world building in general, including how to write backgrounds like you'd find in the Player's Guide, lots of relics, a bestiary, and general advice for running OSR games to the tune of Yohai. Cool. That's awesome. I'm sure there's more I've forgotten. Deal with it. Wait, what about the box set? I didn't know there was going to be a box set. Yes, this is still happening. Kickstarter in September. I hope I'm just trying to write the damn thing first, you know? Oh, dude, there's going to be a box set. I'm getting that. I'm going to definitely back that. I'm going to actually put a note on my calendar here to check back in September. So let's take a look at it. Okay, right off the bat, I love it. This looks so cool. They're up in a tree fighting whatever this is. That looks awesome. I really love this subtle change to the Cairn logo, where they kept the same font, but they just customized that eye to be a torch. That just adds so much class to it. I love it. Yeah, that logo looks great. That is fantastic. Second edition, Creative Commons, cool. 4.0, perfect. So that means that you could, of course, use this to as a base and then build your own systems off of it. I saw in my YouTube comments that somebody had basically took the Cairn rule set and like adapted it for space, which sounds awesome. So we'll see what happens. Okay, table of contents, principles for players, character creation. Interesting. Let's take a look at character creation really quick. Okay, so this is a work in progress that they don't have the art here yet, but that's fine. Overview. So let me see if these have changed at all. This seems like the core design philosophies from original Cairn, so that's good. Principles for players. This also looks about the same. I'm sure there's a change in here as well, but the same tenets: agency, teamwork, exploration, talking, caution, planning, and ambition. That all seems like it's the same stuff. All right, character creation. I love that it's going to be like a colored. Like this is like a gradient gray, but I mean that looks awesome. All right, creating a character. So unless otherwise noted, every player character starts with a torch, rations, and 3d6 gold pieces. Some backgrounds may ask you to refer to tables on the marketplace as well. Okay, so first things, we roll on the backgrounds table below. Note the roll result, as you will need to refer to it in the next few steps. Interesting. Choose a name from the available list, and then roll on each of the included tables in the background. Record your character's items, skills, or abilities from each result. See the core rules, page 63, for how to record items. Okay. After that, we roll for our ability scores and hit protection, just like we did in the original Cairn. Roll for the rest of character traits. And then on the bonds table, finally roll your character's age. If you are the youngest character, roll on the omens table. Cool. The results should be read aloud to the other players. Interesting. Okay, so for backgrounds, these are definitely different than the original Cairn. Let me just pull up my dice roller here, because I have all my dice and stuff packed up, because we were playing Cairn this weekend, actually. Side note, I actually made a app called RPG Advanced Dice Roller years ago. It just lets you basically roll, you know, whatever dice you want. And but the problem is, I wrote it in Game Maker, and then I I lost the source code to it, and I just haven't got around to remaking it. So I rolled a 7. So that's a Fletchwind. That's page 33. Okay, Fletchwind. You strike from afar, but that does not make you a coward. You are a musician, the song of your bowstring, not but a warning, singing the silent promise of a quick death. So starting gear, serrated knife, d6, boiled leather, 1 armor, wooden sight, petty, okay, and a heartroot salve. Recover 1d4 strength. Oh, that's awesome. So it's kind of like a bard. So I get to pick names. So like Flint, Feather, Crier, Thunder, Falcon, Pluck, Needle, Warsong, Hawk, and Kai. Those sound awesome. Or Psy, if it's a soft C, I don't know. Okay, so how did you earn your bow? So I guess we just roll 1d6 for this. So let me roll a 3. Hunting. When taking the supply action, which is on page 83, your ability to secure rations increases by 1 step. It becomes 1d6 rather than 1d4. Okay. Page 83, we're gonna have to check that out. So I have a hunting bow, and then what kind of wood is your bow made from? Let me roll again, re-roll. A 2, Cecily Oak, I don't know how to pronounce that. A D8, bulky, slams into targets. On critical damage, something is torn off. Oh, that's metal! Okay, so I have a Cecily, I'm gonna just call it Cecily, I don't know how to pronounce it. I have a Cecily Oak bow that I got from hunting. Sweet. So that's my background. Let's go back up and then see what we had to do next. Okay, so we did our background. So now we're going to do ability scores. So we roll 3d6. You know, I'm not actually making a character right now. This seems like what it did before. Player characters just have 3 attributes: strength, dexterity, and willpower. Roll 3d6 for each of your character's ability scores in order. You may then swap any 2 of the results. So that's just like the original Cairn. Ability scores are not universal descriptors. A character with a low strength is not necessarily hopelessly weak. They can still attempt to raise a door or survive a deadly fight. Their risk is simply higher. Cool. I like that little addition. I don't think that blurb was in the original rules. But for fun, I need to rewrite this dice app again, man, because this thing is handy. I'll have to see if I can't like put a screenshot of what it looks like, but it's basically you just pick what dice you want. And you can pick like how many you want to roll. So you can see I've got 3d6 here, and I just boom roll it, and it rolls it and adds it for me. So I rolled a 9. Okay, re-roll. 12 and a 13. Cool. So hit protection, roll 1d6 to determine hit protection. Roll the 2. Brutal. Okay, so I don't know if this is a clarification or not. If an attack takes a player character's hit protection exactly to 0, the player must roll on the scars table. That was one of the causes of confusion in the original Cairn system. Was I initially thought that, like, you know, say if you have 2 hit protection, no armor, and you take 3 damage, would you still roll on the scars table? Because technically it would bring you down into -1, but you can't go below negative. Your hit protection is just 0. So I guess you must roll on the scars table. I think the whole point of the scars table was when you take critical damage. So anything that reduces your strength, and then that number is what number corresponds to the scars table. At least that's my understanding of it. It's, again, this is a common thing that a lot of people were confused upon, and a lot of people were going back and forth in my comments on previous Cairn videos discussing how it works too. And even Yohai himself popped up and tried to clarify it a bit too. Inventory. Characters now have a total of 10 inventory slots, but can only carry 4 items comfortably without the help of bags. Backpacks, horses, carts, etc. Each player character starts with a backpack that can hold up to 6 slots. Carts, which must be pulled with both hands. Horses or mules can make a huge difference on how much a player character can bring with them on an adventure. Hirelings can also be paid to carry equipment. Inventory is abstract, dependent only on the fiction, and is adjudicated by the warden. Anyone carrying a full inventory, i.e. filling all 10 slots, is reduced to 0 hit protection. A character cannot fill more than 10 slots. So let's see, traits. Looks like we still have a lot of the same traits. Physique, skin, hair, face, speech, clothing, virtue, and vice. Okay, cool. Ooh, this is new. Bonds. So we roll a d20 d20. Let me roll a d20 here. Roll a 14. Let's see what we got. You promised a childhood friend that you'd bring them back a rare gift. Something unique in all the world. Take a bracelet, Petty, woven from twine and wildflowers. Okay. So that's a kind of a cool story thing that can help you with your character background to make a more exciting narrative. Let me just try another one. 18. An entertainer once visited your home, filling it with story and song. He left one day without a word, leaving behind only a miniature lute. Something rattles inside. That sounds cool. Yeah, so these are just kind of cool story flavor stuff that you can add. And then omens. Let me roll a d20 again here. 16. The constellations. So this is the thing that after you've determined like everyone's character's age, the youngest rolls on the omens table, and it rolls for the entire party, and you have to say it out loud to everybody. So our omen, if this was a new game we're starting, the constellations have slowly started shifting in the night sky, forming unfamiliar patterns that stargazers and sages perplexed. Even the animals seem disturbed. That sounds like a good hook for a cool campaign storyline. That's awesome. Yeah, let me try another one. 18. Again, okay. Statues have been weeping blood for months on end, and the wombs of the village have lain barren since they began to fall. A single child has been the only exception, taken by the elders, overcome with fear and dread. That sounds pretty metal. Cool. So here we have like the marketplace. Oh, they added more stuff. I guess it's the same. Shield, helmet, gambason, however you want to pronounce it. Brigandine, chainmail, plate. Cool. So we've got various weapons. Cool. It even gives you like daily rates for hirelings, prices for like transport stuff, and also hospitality. Like how much would it cost for room and board per night? A private room, fits 4 people, 5 gold. Stable and feed, medical healing. That's awesome. I'm glad that they did that. So if you're in a town that has medical healing services, cost 50 gold to get healed up. That's awesome. Spiritual healing, interesting. Okay, a lot of the gear. Looks like we got a lot of the same stuff in the original one. I think they added some more stuff though. This looks bigger than I remember. So let's take a look at the rules section here. Let's see how much changed. Core rules. So a lot of this stuff should be the same. Saves, still a roll under system. If they roll equal to or under that ability score, they pass. Otherwise, they fail. Okay. 1 is always a success and 20 is always a failure. Cool. Healing. Resting for a few moments, having a drink of water restores lost hit protection, but leaves the party exposed. Ability loss, see critical damage, can usually be restored with a week's rest, facilitated by a healer or other appropriate source of expertise. Cool. Some healing services are free, while magical or more expedient means of recovery may come at a cost. Sweet. Okay, deprivation and fatigue. I think a lot of this stuff is the same. Armor, max armor still 3. Reactions. I think this is the same too. Maybe they added yeah, I think they had the reactions. When player characters encounter an NPC whose reaction to the party is not obvious, the warden may roll 2d6 and consult the following table. They can be curious, wary, hostile, kind, helpful. Morale. Enemies must pass a will save to avoid fleeing when they take their first casualty, and again when they lose half their number. I'm pretty sure that was in the original rules too. I just always forgot about it. Hirelings, inventory slots, combat. Okay, so a lot of the rules here are the same, just slight clarifications added on from what I can see. Okay, here we go. Let's see what they have on detachments. Large groups of similar combatants fighting together are treated as a single detachment. When a detachment takes critical damage, it is routed or significantly weakened. When it reaches 0 strength, it is destroyed. Attacks against detachments by individuals are impaired, excluding blast damage. Attacks against individuals by detachments are enhanced and deal blast damage. So one question I got in my YouTube comments recently was, if players are fighting together, does that make them a detachment? I don't know. That's a really good question. So scars, let's see. When an attack reduces a player character's hit protection to exactly 0, they are uniquely impacted. Look up the result on the table based on the total damage taken. So what that wording says to me is that if I have 3 hit protection and say I take you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 damage, whatever damage I take. So say, for example, if I was being attacked, they roll a 1d6, maybe they roll a 5, and that drops me down to 0 hit protection because you can't go under. The total amount of damage I took was 5. So I would, in theory, use this diseased. So this doesn't mean that the damage that you take over. So for example, if I had 3 hit protection and I took 5 damage, that's 2 left over, my strength would be reduced by 2, and I would have to make a strength save to keep fighting. So it's not that critical damage that we roll, it's just the total damage taken. At least that's how rules is written, that's how I'm interpreting it. And this also means that any damage you take after that, you know, just goes straight to your strength. You would not roll for additional scars. That's how I'm interpreting it. I could be wrong, but I think that's the correct interpretation based on this text I'm seeing here. Looks like scars are pretty similar to what they were before. That's cool. Magic, spell books. Let's see if there's anything different with magic. Okay, spell books and scrolls are about the same as they were before. Casting spells still gives you 100 spells to start out with, which is good. Yeah, so all the spells seem like they're still the same, which is good. 89 is still thicket. That was the first spell we ever got to roll. A thicket of trees and dense brush up to 50 foot wide suddenly sprouts up. 50 feet wide. That's cool. Procedures. This is something I'm very curious about. Let's see what's procedures. Dungeon exploration. Turns. The dungeon exploration cycle is divided into a series of turns, actions, and consequences. On their turn, a character can move a distance equal to their torchlight's perimeter, about 40 feet, and perform one action. They can spend their action to move an incredible distance or at great speed, as well as, you know, whatever they want to spend their action on. The warden should present obvious information about an area and its dangers freely and at no cost. Although the term dungeon is used here, it can be exchanged for any dangerous locale, mansions, farmhouses, adventure sites, etc. The dungeon exploration cycle. Number 1, the warden describes the party's surroundings. Any immediate dangers, combat, traps, surprises, etc. are resolved. 2, the players ask questions, then declare their character's intended movements and actions. 3, the warden resolves each character's actions simultaneously as well as the actions that are already in progress. 4, the warden rolls on the dungeon events table and describes the results. The characters react to the event. 5, let players the players and the warden record any loss of resources and new conditions, i.e. torch use, deprivation, etc. And then number 6, the process repeats starting again from step 1. Okay, so dungeon events. So this is cool. So interesting. So let me roll a d6 here. I got 3, loss. Torches are blown out. An ongoing spell fizzles, etc. The party must resolve the effect before moving on. Okay, that's cool. Let's do another one. 2, environment. Surroundings shift or escalate. Water rises. Ceilings collapse. A ritual nears completion, etc. That's awesome. That's really cool. Let's see, actions. Actions are any non-passive activities such as searching for traps, forcing open a door, listening for danger, disarming a trap, engaging an enemy in combat, casting a spell, dodging a trap, running away, resting, etc. Some actions have special rules, see below, while others may take multiple turns to complete. Loud or noticeable actions may also trigger an encounter of the dungeon's denizens. Sounds awesome. Searching. A player can spend a turn performing an exhaustive search of one object or location in an area, revealing any relevant hidden treasure, traps, secret doors, or anything else. Larger rooms and difficult or complex dungeon terrain may take a few turns to properly search. Searching a room first is a safer way to explore the dungeon, but it has a steep cost. Time. Resting. A character can spend a turn resting to restore all hit protection. A light source and safe location are required to rest. Present or oncoming danger make rest impossible. It's kind of like in Elder Scrolls games where like you try to sleep and like there are enemies nearby. Resting does not restore fatigue, as it is impossible to safely make camp. And ooh, we have rules for making camp too. That's awesome. Conditions. We got conditions. Panic. A character that is surrounded by enemies, enveloped by darkness, or facing their greatest fears may experience panic. A willpower save is typically required to avoid losing control and becoming panicked. A panicked character must make a willpower save to overcome their condition as an action on their turn. A panicked character has 0 hit protection, is always surprised, and all of their attacks are impaired. That sounds about right. Dungeon elements. Light. Torches and other radial sources of light illuminate 40 feet of dungeon, but beyond that only provides a dim outline of objects. A torch can be lit 3 times before degrading. A lantern can be relit 6 times per oil can, but requires more inventory slots. Characters without a light source may suffer from panic until their situation is remedied. This is kind of like Darkest Dungeon, where like your torch gets low, and it's like, you know, you start giving your characters start giving into despair, and they start getting all these afflictions. That's cool. Doors. Doors and entryways may be locked, stuck, moving, or blocked entirely. Characters can try to force open a door or wedge it shut using available resources, spikes, glue, whatever, or just through raw ability. The character most at risk should save to avoid whatever danger may befall them. A character can detect, through careful observation, listening, smelling, etc., signs of life and other hazards through nearby doors and walls. Traps. A cautious character should be presented with any and all information that would allow them the opportunity to avoid springing a trap. An unwitting character will trigger a trap according to the fiction, or otherwise have 2 in 6 chance, or 1 in 3. So roll a d6. Traps can usually be detected by carefully searching a room. Damage from traps is taken from ability scores, usually strength or dex, and not from hit protection. Armor can reduce the damage, but only if applicable. Example given, a shield would not reduce damage from noxious gas. That makes sense. So that's dungeon exploration. That adds a lot of interesting guidelines that weren't necessarily present in the previous Cairn system. And again, as it said, these procedures, you can chuck them out and ignore them entirely if you don't want to use them. But this seems definitely interesting. There's a few questions that I have about it. I think it'll probably be answered when the Warden's Guide is finished and released. But it seems like it's a pretty good system. It seems really cool. I think that this makes it so that dungeon delves are still really interesting, but they don't take as long as it would in, say, another system like D&D or Pathfinder. But it still makes it fun. The dungeon events table really makes me curious. All right, let's check out the wilderness exploration. Watches. A day is divided into 3 watches, called morning, afternoon, and night. Each character can choose 1 wilderness action on page 81, which I think we're going to get to. Yeah, that's coming up. Per watch. If the characters split up, each group is treated as an independent entity. Each day, the warden rolls on the weather table for the appropriate season. Oh, that's cool. We got weather. That's awesome. Nice. I like that a lot. Because that's a detail that I always like forget, is like weather and stuff like that. So in my games, it's always bright and sunny. So that's kind of lame. This makes it so it's kind of a nice reminder to roll. Oh man, I like this already. Points. Potential destinations on a map are called points. 1 or more watches may be required to journey between 2 points on a map, depending on the travel difficulty. That says page 00. So I wonder if that's supposed to be 100 or if that's just not implemented yet. The party has a rough idea of the challenges involved to get to their destination, but rarely any specifics. So the wilderness exploration cycle. Number 1, the warden describes the current point or region on the map. Number 2, the warden explains how the current difficulty affects the party's travel speed. And see page 82 for difficulty. Okay. Number 3, the party plots or adjusts a given course toward their destination, each character choosing a single wilderness action on page 81. That's coming up. Number 4, the warden narrates the results and then rolls on the wilderness events table. The party responds to the results. Oh, this is great. Number 5, the players and the warden record any loss of resources and new conditions, i.e. torch use, deprivation, etc. Number 6, the process is repeated, starting from step 1. Okay, so wilderness events. Let's roll a d6 to see what happens here. 3. Environment, a shift in weather or terrain. So I would just basically have to re-roll weather or pick a different terrain. Interesting. Okay. So let's take a look at wilderness actions here. Travel. Travel begins. Obvious locations, features, and terrain of nearby areas are revealed according to their distance. If necessary, the party rolls a d6 to see if they've become lost. Okay. If they don't get lost, the party reaches the next point along their route. Getting lost. If lost, the party may need to spend a wilderness action to recover their way. Maps and relevant backgrounds may negate the need for a roll or decrease the chances of getting lost. Explore. The party covers a large area searching for hidden features, scouting ahead or treading carefully. A location, like a shelter, village, cave, etc., or feature, a geyser, underground river, beached ship, etc., is discovered. Travel action is still required to leave the current area, even if it has been completely explored. Okay. Supply. Characters can hunt, fish, or forage for food. A single character collects D4 rations, which gives you 3 uses. A chance of a greater bounty increases with each additional participant. Example given, D4 becomes a D6 and so on. Relevant experience or equipment may also increase your chances. Kind of like we saw when I checked out the Fletchwind background. When I earned my bow through hunting, I'm able to increase that supply action. Okay, cool. The party may encounter homes and small villages, spending gold and a full watch to resupply. Okay. Make camp. The party stops to set up camp in the wilds. Each party member and their mounts consume a ration. A lookout rotation is set so the party can sleep unmolested. At least 3 rotations are necessary to ensure that all party members can rest. A smaller party may need to risk sleeping unguarded or switch sleeping off over multiple days. Party members that are able to rest remove all fatigue from their inventory. Weather. If the extreme weather result is rolled twice in a row, the weather turns to catastrophic. A summer squall becomes a hurricane. A fall storm floods the valleys, etc. Holy crap. That could be brutal. I mean, the chances of rolling the same dice, like the same result, is low, but still, that sounds awesome. Difficulty. An area's weather, terrain, obstacles, night travel, and slow or injured party members can reduce travel speed or make travel impossible. The party may need to spend fatigue, resources, or tools, or other resource in order to maintain their travel speed. Mounts, guides, and maps can increase the party's travel speed or even overcome a terrain's difficulty. So here we go. We have some different terrains here. Interesting. So roads, grasslands, and plains. The difficulty is easy. The duration's normal. The odds of getting lost are none. Examples are smooth roads, safe areas for rest, fellow travelers, etc. Forest, mountains, and hills, the difficulty is tough. The duration is doubled. The odds of getting lost are 2 in 6. And then the terrain, deserts, jungle, swamp, the difficulty is perilous. The duration is tripled. And the odds of getting lost are 3 in 6. Sweet. Weather difficulty, so nice weather. Favorable conditions for travel. Bedroll or shelter is required. Examples of good weather, clear skies, sunny. Fair weather, overcast and breezy. Unpleasant, you gain 1 fatigue or add 1 watch. Gusting winds, rain showers, sweltering heat, chill air. Inclement, gain 1 fatigue or add 1 watch. Difficulty increases by 1 step. Okay. Thunderstorms and lightning, rain, muddy ground are some examples of inclement weather. Extreme, gain 1 fatigue and add 1 watch. Difficulty increases by 1 step. Okay, so extreme is gain 1 fatigue and add 1 watch. Unpleasant and inclement are or. Gain 1 fatigue or add 1 watch. Interesting. So examples of extreme weather are blizzards, freezing winds, flooding, mudslides. Those sound pretty extreme. Catastrophic. Most parties cannot travel under these conditions. Tornadoes, tidal waves, hurricane, volcanic eruptions. I want to see what party can travel in that damn condition. Are you kidding me? Holy balls. Gotta be a pretty powerful kick-ass party to do that. Night, sleep, and light. The party can choose to travel during the night and rest during the day, but night travel is far slower and more treacherous. Traveling at night always increases the difficulty by 1 step, and the warden rolls twice on the wilderness events table. Some terrain and weather may be easier to traverse at night, desert for example. The warden should balance these challenges along with any other. Sleep. The last watch of the day is typically reserved for the make camp action. Characters typically need to sleep each day. Anything beyond a minor interruption can negate or cancel the benefits of sleep. If the party skips the make camp action, they each add 1 fatigue to their inventory and are deprived. Additionally, a sleep-deprived party raises the difficulty of a terrain by 1 step. Light. So this is similar to dungeoneering. Okay, so light sources and panic, all those sections are very similar to how it was in the dungeoneering module as well. So let's talk about this. This is a pretty in-depth system. So wilderness exploration is like 5 pages. And just reading through that, it's kind of hard for me to conceptualize how easy this would be to implement and play. So this part right here, the wilderness exploration, is by far the most, I think, rules-heavy portion of the 2nd edition Cairn rules so far. And again, keep in mind, they said that this procedure is meant to be modular. If you don't want to use it, you can toss it out. But I would have to actually test it. I think I might do some solo play later to test it out, rules as written, to see if it's something that I like. I feel like that reading through it, it's kind of dry, and I honestly, I kind of got lost by like page 3. So I think that actually doing it will make much more sense. But I think that this is a net positive for sure, because I mean, it gives you, like, even if you just pick the weather system, like, that is awesome. Even if you don't care about all the other stuff about, you know, going point to point on the map, or, you know, weather, terrain, and stuff like that, like, you could still at least have some to roll a weather table and see if it's just this weather table alone might help out a lot. And even wilderness events, this is a kind of cool idea. So I definitely like it. I like the idea of it. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know in practice how I like it, but I think I just have to try it. But rules as written, it seems like it makes sense. I just have to get a grasp on all the new concepts that they introduce. So, for example, you know, the wilderness actions, the events, the terrain, the weather, the watches, all of those are new and might take a bit to digest, but that's really cool. So section 5, the setting of Vald. Interesting. Or is it Vald? I don't know. The implied setting of Cairn is called Vald. This includes all developed or settled lands, cities, towns, etc. The particular ruler does not matter. Yeah, rulers don't matter. Fight the power. No. The woods surrounds and divides the kingdom, and includes anyone or anything that has not yet sworn fealty. The woods is not one forest, but all forests. The roots is the realm of mystery and horror underneath, and does not care for the petty divisions over ground. That sounds awesome. The woods, any lands beyond the control of a noble, a city, or a town, typically wilder and less civilized. All forests are considered part of the woods, no matter how isolated. The woods are populated by creatures far stranger and wondrous than humankind. Fae, demons, witches, werewolves, and even talking plants and animals. They do not appreciate the loss of their home due to the encroachment of natural progress either. The denizens of the woods are fiercely independent, believing they are subject solely to the rules of the woods and no other. Its fierce nations, wild tribes, and unrelenting elements have kept armies and scouting parties at bay, for now. And here we go, the roots. The remnants of the old world, its labyrinthine hollows stretching for immeasurable distances deep underground, connecting the sewers of the cities to the far-flung ruins. Entrances to the roots, called gates, are scattered across the lands and are usually protected or shrewdly hidden. Only the brave or foolish have dared enter the roots in search of forgotten relics or powerful spellbooks. The few that return whisper of unspeakable terrors guarding these lost treasures. Folktales recount that traveling through the roots bends the natural order of things. Stories tell of adventurers lost for centuries to the depths, only to emerge again, claiming that only a few hours have passed. Others have claimed they made a week-long journey above ground in just one day, traveling in the tunnels beneath. Cool. To be expanded. Awesome. So there we go. That is the work in progress player's guide for the second edition of Cairn. I love it. It's so cool. I'm excited. I think that next weekend when I play Cairn with my friend and my boys, we might try out second edition. I don't know. It depends. Like, we're just having way too much damn fun with our current campaign that we're kind of running now. I've been doing my guards adventure. I still haven't finished it yet. Still working on it. Just my guards adventure right now is like 22 pages long. And the hard part I'm having with this is that it's such a different adventure than, you know, it's not like, okay, here's a dungeon to delve into. It's like, you're a guard. Every day you get a new assignment. So there's lots of assignments that you can do, lots of encounters that you can experience, lots of fun, interesting events and situations that you have to diffuse and so far, I mean, my players have been really kicking ass. Like, you can just stick to the basic adventure if you want, but I mean, they're doing like all other stuff. So like they're trying to like extort businesses, they're like taking bribes, they're like they go to like the slums and they try to find poor people and like pay them to be their minions to go do stupid stuff. Like, it's really kind of taken a wild, wacky turn. But yeah, so far I love what I've read. The only thing I'm not sure about is the wilderness stuff, but that's just because there's like 5 pages of rules and a bunch of new concepts. And at first read, it seems like it could be awesome, but I have to actually get in there and experience it. So I might do that soon. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Cairn second edition of Cairn. I just love this new logo that they have. It's just so cool. But I love the changes to character creation. I think the backgrounds are super awesome. The core rules are still intact, so that is still perfectly fine. So this just adds more onto it and clarifies a few things. I think my understanding of the scars table was correct. The new procedures for dungeon exploration and wilderness exploration were very cool. And I'm also excited to see what they have for procedures for downtime, including foreground growth. That could be really cool. And I love the setting. The setting adds a lot more inspiration. I love the fact that it's broken out into like woods and then the roots. I just want to play. And the cool thing is I can, because it's available to us. So again, if you want to know where it's at, it's on New School Revolution. I will put a link to it in the description, of course. But thank you all so much for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the second edition of Cairn. I, for one, am excited. What do you think of the changes? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they kind of meh? Like, what do you think? Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in whatever video I make next.